Bhaktivedanta Samara Prabhupada Ananta Koti Vaishnava Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Dirgha Satvena
Asina Dirgha Satvena
Tayam Sakshana Hare
Kalayam Sakshana Hare.
Having arrived Agyaya
Knowing this
Kshetre in this tract of land Asmin in this Vaishnave especially meant for the devotee of the Lord Vayam we Asina seated Dirgha prolonged Satvena for performance of sacrifices Katayam in the words of Sakshana with time at our disposal Hare of the personality of God. Translation. Knowing well that the age of Kali has already begun, we are assembled here in this holy place to hear at great length the transcendental message of Godhead, and in this way perform sacrifice. Purport. This age of Kali is not at all suitable for self-realization, as was Satyayuga, the golden age, or Treta and Dwapara Yugas, the silver and copper age. For self-realization, the people in Satyayuga, living a lifetime of 100,000 years, were able to perform prolonged meditation. And in Treta Yuga, when the duration of life is 10,000 years, self-realization was attained by performance of great sacrifice. And in the Dwapara Yuga, when the duration of life was 1,000 years, self-realization was attained by worship of the Lord. But in the Kali Yuga, the maximum duration of life being 100 years only, and that combined with various difficulties, the recommended process of self-realization is that of hearing and chanting of the holy name, fame, and pastimes of the Lord. The sages of Naimisharanya began this process in a place meant especially for the devotees of the Lord. They prepared themselves to hear the pastimes of the Lord over a period of 1,000 years. By the example of these sages, one should learn that regular hearing and recitation of the Bhagavatam is the only way for self-realization. Other attempts are simply a waste of time, for they do not give any tangible results. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached a system of Bhagavad Dharma, and he recommended that all those who were born in India should take the responsibility of broadcasting the messages of Lord Sri Krishna, primarily the message of Bhagavad Gita. And when one is well established in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, he can take up the study of Srimad Bhagavatam for further enlightenment and self-realization. Kalim agatam agyaya kshetresmin vaishnave vayam asina dirghasatrena katayam sakshana hare. Knowing well that the age of Kali has already begun, we are assembled here in this holy place to hear at great length the transcendental message of Godhead and in this way perform sacrifice. So when these sages, Satan's persons, were wanting to perform sacrifice, the first thing they did was went to Naimisharanya forest. Naimisharanya forest was very special. It is considered to be the center of the universe, as imagined by Lord Brahma. So there, all these saintly personalities gather, and they have sacrifice. It's a sacrificial place. Now, when they sat down to make a fire sacrifice, they couldn't even start the fire. They were trying to start the fire, but it was just making a lot of smoke. And out of all that smoke, their bodies were simply becoming blackened by the effort. But they were not getting any tangible results. Therefore, when they realized this wasn't working, they went to Sutta Swami and they suggested to him that he should kindly hear and he should kindly chant for them who will hear the recitation of the Supreme Personality of God. The qualities, characteristics, his form, his pastimes, his fame. All of these qualities are very important for the conditioned souls to hear. This is Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Chaitadapanamasanam Baba Mahadavagam Vakanam Shayakarava Chandrikavitarinam Vidyavada Jivanam Anandam Bhuri Vadanam Tipikadam Gunam Vitaswadam Sarvatmasnapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. This was the first shloka of the only 8 shlokas that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally composed. And in this shloka, it is stated, glories to thee, Sri Krishna Sankirtan, this hearing and chanting about Krishna. For it cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years together. So much dust gets accumulated on our hearts. Our hearts, meaning the transcendental heart. We're not referring here to the red pumping thing that's within the body. We're referring to transcendental heart. In transcendental heart, there is this covering. Cheta means consciousness also. The covering of the consciousness. Consciousness of the spirit soul becomes covered, and one is no longer able to understand what is his original position. So the Sri Krishna Sankirtan lifts one out of that covering condition and cleanses one. It spreads the rays of the benediction moon, because it is the best thing for all of humanity at large. It is the greatest welfare work. One wants to help others. The only way that you can really help others is by giving them this Sri Krishna Sankirtan. Otherwise, one can perform so many mundane welfare activities for the sake of others. But these mundane welfare activities are not going to actually give us any real knowledge. They're not going to help us very much. Rather, if you don't have some clothes, you may get some clothes. If you don't have something to eat, you may get something to eat. This is a temporary help. It is a help which only lasts for some minutes only. And then again it's gone. So what is the use of that? One should rather be helped in a way which is eternal. A way which can actually help one. And if one actually wants to be helped, the way to do it is through this hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna. If one hears, chants, and remembers Krishna, then one can actually be helped. Because that will break us free from the cycle of birth and death. That will get us out of the bondage of the material world. That will get us out of the requirement of needing something to eat or something like this, which we may not get under certain circumstances from the material nature. This frees us from all of those problematic conditions of life, because then we get freed from the body. And when one is freed from the body, then he no longer has all these disturbing conditions to conquer over. Therefore, to get freed from the material existence and get established in the spiritual existence is the highest welfare work for humanity at large. Because it actually brings us to a platform where we no longer need any other help. If you really want to help somebody, you've got to help them by bringing them to a platform where they don't require any more help. If you make somebody dependent on you, then that's not really help. Because again and again, one will have to experience further requests for help. One will be in need again. This is not very good. Therefore, Vijayate, Krishna Sankirtanam, it's so nice, it just frees us from the requirement of ever having to call out again for material help. And it soothes one. These Sankirtan rays soothe one. They make the painful condition of the material existence seem to disappear. Just disappear. Actually, if one is engaged in devotional service, he can't even perceive the material world anymore. It just disappears. That's the nature of the Sankirtan mission. It just causes all material existence to just dissolve. Even if one still is in the material body and still is in the material world, still the hearing and chanting of Krishna's holy name is so powerful. All of these material attachments just disappear. If one is doing it purely, one can go on chanting and hearing in a not very pure way for a long time and still remain all kinds of materially attached, because that's also an offense against the holy name of the Lord, to always be attached, in spite of hearing so many instructions. To the contrary, one should understand that attachment should be given up. But if one knows that, hears that, understands that, still doesn't do that, then one is unfortunately committing offenses against the holy name, and he does not advance. So now, we are talking here about the sages of Naimisharana, sitting there trying to make a fire yagya, finding out they can't even start the fire because it's Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is not very much meant for self-realization. Of course, Kali Yuga has one good thing, and this is described in this verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Kalera Doshami Nadi Rajan. Kalera Doshami Nadi Rajan Hisi Eka Mahatmana Kirtanad Eva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param. That this Kali Yuga is considered to be an ocean of faults. There's so many faults in this age, you can't even begin to describe them. It's like an ocean of faults. But there's one good thing, and that is that simply by chanting Krishna's name, one can get liberation from this material existence just by chanting Krishna's name. Kirtanadeva Krishna. Therefore, all benediction comes to those who chant in the Sage of Kali. Otherwise, Sage of Kali is just bad and worse. Because it is a time in which one will simply be entangled in all kinds of material existence more and more. One will be simply battered around by the waves of Maya. Sometimes the waves bring us up, sometimes the waves bring us down. And when we're on top of the wave, we think, yeah, this is the life. It's real nice up here, everything's fine. And then the wave brings us back down. And then we think, oh, how terrible. Of course, that also happens within one lifetime. But that especially happens over many lifetimes. Let's say for one lifetime, you're a king. Next lifetime, you're a pauper. This is the wave of Maya. Puts you up, makes you think. This is the greatest. Puts you down, and makes you think this is terrible. Maya is like that. Encourages us to go on that way. Gives us some taste of enjoyment and takes it away and leaves us mad. This is the problem with Maya. Maya is so powerful like that. In Kali Yuga, it's especially bad. In Kali Yuga, it's terrible because Maya is just beating us around left and right and right and left, sitting beaten from one side to the next. Maya, as a merciless master, gives us no peace. Right. Actually, we think that we are serving very nicely Maya. Maya gives us no peace. But Maya is always pushing us for increasing our material facilities, material existence. And therefore there's no peace for one who's always engaged like that, trying to satisfy unlimited material desires. He never gets peace because he is simply agitated. An agitated person can never be peaceful. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, only he who, when the mind is ever being filled by all kinds of material desires and is never still, but actually the ocean is like so many rivers may flow into the ocean. And although it's seemingly an agitating thing, the ocean is always still, always deep, never agitated by that. So, similarly, when one's mind is deep with the depth of Krishna consciousness, he is not agitated by so many streams of thoughts entering into the mind. For he knows that this is all just the material nature acting and nothing more. So he's always still. So he alone can achieve real peace, and not the one who strives to satisfy such desires. To strive to satisfy these unlimited desires of the mind, which are born of the senses, then one will never have any peace. Therefore, in the Vedic literature, there is regulated action. How one should act. What should be the means of action for every person. And therefore it is stated, Yakshastra viding uchitya bhartate kama karta shantanto navatnoti nasadina paramriti. One who acts whimsically, not following the instructions of the Vedic literature, he can never attain happiness nor peace nor the supreme destination. Because for him, he's always agitated with mental speculation. What shall I do now? Oh, I shall go here. What shall I do? Then I shall go there. Then I'll go here. Oh, and then maybe there, and then perhaps there. And then all day long, mind is spinning with decisions to make. What shall I do now? What shall I do now? What shall I do now? Whereas in regulated life, one knows exactly what to do all the time. Therefore, he doesn't speculate. Therefore, the mind can be peaceful. If one is nicely engaged. If one is not engaged, and he's just living some regulated life sometimes, and then he's just laying around the whole day, then, of course, you'll find the mind will be very agitated as well. But when one is actively engaged, and throughout the whole day, then he becomes quite peaceful. Peacefulness is one of the qualities of devotees in general. Very peaceful. Of course, sometimes somebody may be contaminated and may be agitated like that, but general speaking rule is devotees are peaceful. Shantam. What is the difference? Bhukti mukti siddhi. Bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakali ashanta. Krishna bhakta nishkam atayeva shant. The karmis, or those who are not bhaktas, they may be looking for liberation, they may be looking for sense gratification, they may be looking for mystic power, mukti bhukti siddhi. Kami means one who's a desirer, he wants these things. Sakali, ashanta, therefore not peaceful, he's never peaceful. Because he's looking for something to enjoy. He's not peaceful. But Krishna Bhakta Nishkam. Nishkam. Kama means desire. Nishkama means no desire. All desire is finished. Material desire. He has only Krishna desire. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam. Atayeva Shanti. Therefore, he is peaceful. Because that devotee of Krishna is interested in serving Krishna. He's Nishkam. Therefore, he's peaceful. Gyatvam Shanti Chati. One who knows Krishna as the Supreme Lord, Maheshwara, as the Supreme Controller, as the Supreme Lord of all existence. Knowing such, that person can attain peace. When you actually know that you're not the controller or the enjoyer, Krishna is the controller and enjoyer, then you can attain peace. And then one also acts in a very Krishna conscious way, not trying to simply fulfill the desires of the senses, but rather in a regulated fashion engaging in yoga practice. Yeah. Now, Kali Yuga is not a good place, not a good time. Therefore, the sages knew they had a chance and hear Krishna's name. So they picked Suta Goswami to chant, because he had heard from Shukadeva. When Shukadeva Goswami had spoken to Maharaj Parikshit, Suta Goswami was there, sitting there, amongst the people of the audience. And he heard it all. He heard it all, and he remembered everything. That's why he was Suta Goswami. He was the son of Brahmaharshana Suta. Brahmaharshana Suta was the one whom Srila Vyasadeva had entrusted the Puranic literatures to. And actually, when Srila Vyasadeva was engaged in editing the Veda, he was taking all of the Veda and dividing it up in different ways. So that one professor would take this part, one professor would take that part, one professor would take that part, and they would organize the subject matter into a particular work. So Brahmaharshana, he took up the work of the Puranas on behalf of Srila Vyasadeva in that Vedic university. So now when Lord Balaram once came into an assembly of the great sages who were being spoken to by Brahmaharshana Sutta, Brahmaharshana didn't get up and offer respect to Lord Balaram. He didn't stand up. He didn't show any respect to Lord Balaram. He just sat there on the Vyasasana. Now, of course, when one is speaking on the Vyasasana and anybody enters the room, you don't have to, by etiquette, get up or do anything. But Lord Balaram just so happens to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the first expansion of Lord Shri Krishna. Therefore, you better get up. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you are. Brahmaharshana, being quite unfortunate at that time, didn't do it. Then Lord Balaram got angry at him. Lord Balaram gets angry sometimes. But Krishna just tolerates everything that everybody does. He doesn't. So Lord Balaram, he manifests the anger. So he picked up a blade of grass. Just to teach Brahmaharshana, he should be more humble than a blade of grass. He picked up a blade of grass and killed him with it. Yeah. So, just to teach him, he did that. And all the sages were very disturbed. They said, of course Brahmaharshana made an offense, but you shouldn't have killed him. So then Lord Balaram said, all right, I can bring him back to life if you like. I can also give him an extended duration of life for thousands of years. If you just request me to do so, I will do so. Because I have made this mistake according to you. Alright, so I'm ready to bring him back to life and give him opulence and free duration of life. The sages said, no, well, if you wanted to do like that, you are after all the Lord, so you can do like that. So we don't ask you to do that. So they didn't want him to. He said, whatever you do is infallible. It should not be taken back by anybody. So, in any case, this was the father of Suta Goswami. Suta Goswami, he didn't make the same mistake his father made, because he saw what happens when you make mistakes like that. So, Suta Goswami was sitting there in Naimisharanya, And all of the sages just appointed him. They said, okay, now you just go and speak to us now. Because you heard from Shukadeva. Therefore, you just tell us what you heard from him. After all, Shukadeva Goswami was the supreme authority. The supreme authority of all authorities is Shukadeva. He knows perfectly well, especially Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadeva, expert reciter, like a parrot, making things more nectarian by his word. It's like a parrot makes a fruit more nectarian by its touch, by its beak. Similarly, Shukadeva made the Srimad Bhagavatam more nectarian by his word. And Sutta Goswami, in turn, expanded that to the sages of Naimisharanya. And because it is from Sutta the Puranas come, having taken over from Maharshan, his father, Srila Vyasadeva wrote down this version of Srimad Bhagavatam for all of us today. First, Vyasadeva taught it to Shukadeva when he was still in the womb of his mother. He was older, of course, staying there for 13 years in the womb of his mother because he didn't want to come out, being afraid of Maya. And being a great yogi, he had that power. Of course, his mother was a little disturbed. After all, carrying around this very big child for 13 years, it's not at all very nice. She kept begging him, please come out. And his father was begging him, please come out. But he would not come out of the womb. Then Krishna came and begged him, come out and you will not fall into Maya. So immediately came out and left home with Maya. This was Shukadeva Goswami. So, he was the perfect person to hear Bhagavatam. And he spoke it to Maharaj Parikshit. And Sutta Goswami heard it from him, and then Sutta Goswami expanded it still. In this way, Srimad Bhagavatam is there in the present form. Because it also gave the whole history, all this history of the Pandavas and the Maharaj Parikshit's situation and all that was put there by Sutta Goswami. And the Bhagavatam of Shukadeva begins at the beginning of the second canto. So, we find that Sutta Goswami perfectly was giving this instruction for the age of Kali. Therefore, in the next verse, Kamna Sandashiko Datra Dustaram Nishtitishitam Kalim Sattvaharam Pumsam Karnadara Ivarnavam. We think that we have met your goodness, referring to Sutta Goswami, by the will of providence. It was providence that we have met you, O Sutta. Just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. It's a very poetic verse, very famous verse, where the sages of Naimisharanya said, we think we've met you, Sutta, by the will of providence, by the arrangement of the Supreme. And we are accepting you as the captain of the ship. We are on this ocean of Kali, and we are suffering like anything here. So we are accepting you as the captain to bring us across this vast ocean of Kali Yuga, which destroys all the good qualities of the living being. All good qualities finish in the stage of Kali. Whatever good qualities one had, they're just gone. Human beings may have had some good qualities, they all just went away. All good qualities destroyed in the age of Kali. Because this is the quality of Kali, ruination of everything. So, these sages, they accepted Sutta Goswami like that, as the captain. He said, now you tell us where to go, you chart our way. You tell us what you think is important for us to know, so that we'll be able to overcome disturbing conditions of Kali Yuga. So the sages they spoke like that. And the point is, they wanted to do a sacrifice for 1,000 years. That means they had to live that long. Actually, in the Dwapara Yuga, the duration of life was 1,000 years. And for sages like that, perhaps even longer. So they thought that so long, this was just at the beginning of Kali Yuga, so the duration of life was still very long. So they figured so long as we have to live in this Kali Yuga now, and so long anyway our duration of life is reduced, So let's just do the rest of our lives making a fire sacrifice. Or also hearing and chanting and remembering about Krishna. And forget about this age of Kali completely. And then at the end we go back to God. That they made a very good plan. Excellent plan. That we'll just not even act in the age of Kali. We're just going to sit here for 1,000 years. And we're just going to hear and chant and perform this fire yoga. And that's all and nothing else. And that's exactly what they did. You will find most of the Puranic writings are simply accounts of this discussion. Because not only did Sutta Goswami recite Srimad Bhagavatam, he recited other Puranas as well. So all these big Puranas, so many of them were recited by Sutta Goswami. During this occasion of the sages of Naimisharanya, sitting there and hearing from him at the beginning of the age of Kali. So, the sages found out a method, and that method is the supreme method, by which any living being may get himself established in the loving devotional service of the Lord, and thus go back home, back to God, simply through the chanting, hearing, remembering of the name and the form and the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of God and Lord Jesus. Therefore, the solution to the problems of the Kali Yuga are one, simply you chant and hear and remember Krishna. And this anybody can do. Doesn't matter where you live, where you are. You just have to hear, chant, and remember. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
And make one's life perfected. So are there any questions? Are there any birds which are hungry?
Very good.
No question. And then the people who are hungry, yeah. That's why there's no question. Now we understand everything. Day after Ekadasi, third question. No one ever asked questions. Yes?
I personally deal with some personal things orders with goals. So, I wish I understand the, for example, the way some way to prepare things or become a guru and a darkness.
What's the question?
How we should understand that in terms of Krishna, the same way. It is different because
One who is acting not properly the devotional service, perhaps breaking regulative principle or something, will find that he's punished like this. Lusty personalities living in the sky try to take advantage of one. If one is strict in following, he does not get entangled with such personalities.
Did these all the sages in the forest of Naimisharanya that we see in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam photograph, did they all chant the holy names, just like Hare Krishna Mahabharata?
They were listening.
You know this thing?
They were listening. Shravanam Kirtan.
Yeah.
So the Kirtanam was Sutta, the Shravanam was them. They just sat there listening. They became perfected by listening, just like Maharaj Parikshit. He also was perfected by listening to Shukadeva. It wasn't until Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance that this congregational chanting of Hare Krishna mantra began. It was always there throughout the universe. Narada Muni is always chanting Hare Krishna. But it was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who brought it as the Yuga Dharma, the means of realization in this Kali Yuga. And the congregational, especially the congregational chanting, came from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tell something? Just something?
No, everything.
You've been telling. Surrendering means you hear about Krishna, you chant Krishna's name, you understand the philosophy, you take prasad, you work for Krishna all day. Just surrender. Just something, if you just tell something, this is not sufficient. So if you want to know something specific, then you can answer the question. We've been all the time talking about surrender. It's not like, we get out a gun and we hold you up against the wall and you go, I surrender. It's not so simple like that. One has to give up gradually this material existence. That's what it's all about.
I have actually two questions. One is connected to this.
Just ask the question.
You said that there's this process of surrendering and we are gradually surrendering, and actually we can never say that we finish surrendering. And you can see that in the spiritual world, because they're trying to serve Krishna always more and more. But there is certainly some point where we can say that someone is giving 100%, although it is increasing in the spiritual world. It seems like it's not that in the spiritual world they are not completely surrendered, and therefore they are increasing because of
they're increasing in the spiritual world because the spiritual world everything is automatically increasing. You can also say somebody's 100% surrendered to Krishna, even here in the material world, but he will never say that. You can say that, and it's actually true, but he will never say that. That's the only thing. Another question?
And the other question is, yesterday you were telling to this board that this fear that he had, fear for devotees and something like that, this is actually a good kind of fear. And I remember once you answered to me teaching about the anxiety, the same thing, that there is certain kind of anxiety when you have anxiety in your service purpose, that this is a good kind of anxiety. So I wanted to ask, sometimes there is discussion, especially in connection with Sankirtan, that devotees, they feel like sometimes some anxiety there is, and there's some tension and like that to distribute books. And many times I saw that there's this misconception. I thought that this was a misconception that it should be just heavenly, this Sankirtan, that there should be no anxiety. I think it should be really nice and really.
In general, it's very nice, but you should get out and distribute the books, and that's a bit of an anxiety.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of an anxiety to have to go out and do, because after all, it's a difficult thing. But it is a heavenly activity while you're doing it. It's not heavenly, it's transcendental. It's better. Yeah. So the anxiety is good to get you out. And once you're out, then the Vaikuntha takes over.
But sometimes also the feelings that in Sankirtan, will they distribute or will they enter to this?
That's fruitive mentality.
And those things.
Fruitive mentality makes one sometimes fall into that anxiety while it's in distribution. It's always thinking, can I do more, should I do more, I will do more, I should better do more, otherwise I won't be best this week. I have to beat this one, I have to do better than that one. Like this fruitive mentality. That causes most problems as far as anxiety goes. Yes.
Rekli ste da bakta može služiti izdržavajući 4 revolucije za sve vreme, šalom i mislom, ali da pritom može biti i da nije vredan i da time čini uvrede. Eto, te uvrede, rekli ste, onda ne može napredovati u služenju. Recite mi kako, tačno šta ste mislili? On stvari ne čini uvrede Krišni, nego da prevedite, ja malo lično.
He said, you said that we can operate with principles and chant around, and
da možemo da se pridržavamo svih principa i da manjamo sveti imena, ali da još uvek nismo predali i da s njima činimo uvrede.
we can operate with this chanting around, and we are still not surrendered that we are making offense and offense.
I da s njima ne napredujemo.
And in this way we don't advance.
No, I didn't say like that. I said that if one is engaged in devotional service, yet still maintains material attachment in spite of hearing that you shouldn't, that's an offense, and therefore advancement does not happen. You know what this means? Maintaining material attachment in spite of hearing instructions to the contrary? It means just like if one is attached to eating outside, something in the restaurant. So one hears instructions all the time. Don't do that. Don't eat food cooked by materialists. It will cause one to fall back into the karmic cycle. One will have his mind polluted. One should only take food in the temple. This is very bad, don't do like that. So one hears this again and again. Still one goes out and does that. He's not going to advance anymore. It's going to be like a ceiling. And it's going to be stopped. So one has heard a good instruction, one doesn't follow it, he still maintains that attachment. That stops his advancement. So therefore, if one gets a good instruction, don't do like this, then one should do it. If he doesn't do, even after having gotten direct instruction like this, then he's maintaining attachments in spite of hearing good instructions on the matter. Chinamansa is more powerful than you can imagine. It's even more powerful than your mind. Yeah, but if your mind is all screwed up, you can't do any sankirtan. Therefore, chant.
It is described in the Shastras that we are always trying to perform this Vairagya, which means
What's the question?
so in this connection.
Instead of going into a big explanation and then a little bitty question, that's the question.
In this connection, we Westerners are very inclined somehow to enjoy. We have been taught like that, raised like that.
Question starts with the what, who, why, where, when, how, and ends with a question mark.
So it seems to me difficult that we have to accept all these facilities for spreading Krishna consciousness and still
What, why, how, when, where, who.
So is it
How, why, where, when, who.
is it not
Is it not? It's not a question, it's a statement.
wanted to say actually.
So many things you wanted to say. I'm looking for questions. They all begin with the same words. What is this? How is that? Why is this? And not how can we. If your question doesn't start with these words and end with a question mark, it's not a question.
I actually wanted to ask, how is it possible in all this environment and all these tests for us who are so attached to give up, still give up and see that we are giving up?
How
perceive.
can we...
No, the thing was that this second was in my mind that sometimes we simply don't see because we are still surrounded with all these things. Like for example, we have to give up eating nicely and all these things. But how can we perceive that we gave up if we are still continuing to eat nicely and we have to
What's wrong with eating nicely?
All this
What's wrong with nicely food? So you should live under a tree.
Wow.
So you can move out and live under a tree. Everybody else can carry out fire, and they'll follow you.
In this marathon kirtan, in this marathon dealing books in winter, I was in the position to go to Sankirtan, and that happened in Celje. That's on the border between Croatia and Slovenia. And there were a lot of restaurants. And why I was scared so of coming to enter the restaurant. And on the way, going from the bus station to the first restaurant, I talking, yes, I go, no, better leave this restaurant, go the next. You have maybe 5 minutes, and so you will not have, you will be not scared of it. But when I came to the first restaurant, I said to me, oh, well, I entered, better to enter. And afterwards I was not scared anymore.
Why do you have
the whole tour I was not scared, but the first restaurant, till I came to the first restaurant, I was scared.
Why do you have to enter the restaurant?
Why do I enter the restaurant?
Yeah.
Because I was going to reading books. I had to go
You
to
sell
the
books
people
in the restaurant?
and ask them, do you want some nice books and such.
Oh, I see.
But I was scared till I came to the first restaurant. And
Yes, it's like...
at the time I entered, then
It's just like when you're going swimming.
gone.
And then the water's a little cold. And you put your toe in the water and very cold, very cold. I don't want to go. But you want to go, that's why you're there. So then you put your toe in again. And then you finally just... Then it's okay. After a couple of minutes. So similarly, Sankirtan's like that. In the beginning it's like... But then you just dive in, and then it's over.
And at the end, it was very nice because
It's always like that.
It was very nice.
It's very nice. All right.
Divine grace, Harikesa Swami.